With the infinite types of businesses that are out there, with how much capital you might need to start any one of them, or how high the barrier of entry might be, it becomes so easy to get lost in that choice and get just completely paralyzed by the analysis of it. But as someone that's run a business for a little over 2 years now, if I could go back in time and roll back the clock, there are definitely some ways that are better than others. And that's what I hope to distill down in this 5-minute video for everyone out there. What to do, what not to do, the how, the when, and the why. I think we have to address something really quick here. A business is just the exchange of goods or services for money. That means that you don't need to have a computer engineering degree to go build some super secret but still very useful software that you can then build into a company and sell for $700 million. Even if that is probably one of the, if not the most famous form of business that we've been introduced to, just because of the recent tech culture that has been going on for the last 20 years or so. It also doesn't mean that you need to have a factory or special equipment or whatever else kind of licensing to just go and do your thing. Maybe it would have been different 100 years ago, but we don't live in that time now. We have much better opportunities and it's much easier of an environment than it was then today. Most people could probably run a successful business from their phone or their laptop, because the one thing that separates a successful business from one that is not is just simply the person behind it. What kind of skills and abilities does that person have that can command a certain price in the market that their business is positioned in? It's kind of like the idea of career capital and why some professionals can make way more than others even though they're working in the same field and sometimes even in the same role, especially in some performance-based job like salespeople, for example. Okay, so you're with me so far, but that is all great information, but how do we actually use it? What do we choose? What should we go on the route of? It's a question that's been asked a million times and it has a different million answers, but I think I have my own perspective as someone that experimented quite a lot with that set of ideas. You could always see just what is the highest paying job that probably has a decent barrier of entry and is not gonna be saturated in the future, at least expectedly so. So maybe like an investment banker or some top level salesperson. But if you go that route, it has a very certain glaring problem that doesn't reveal itself until a few years after. God, you're gonna hate it. Even if you succeed, you're gonna hate it. Yes, sure, probably making a good bit of money, but you hate it, it sucks the life out of you, you feel no purpose in it, and it doesn't drive you in any real sense of the world. Just because you simply chose on the lens and the framework of money. Yeah, it's not a great position to be in. In short, what you're trying to do is to look for the part that has the biggest possible dip, as referenced in Seth Godin's book, The Dip, that you can possibly go through and make it out on the other side victorious. The dip is the middle part of any endeavor, venture, new skill, hobby that you're trying to learn. The part that really sucks in it, where you feel like you're trudging through a thick black sludge that just does not seem to be ending, and it's getting more and more heavy on you with each step that you take. Like when you're working out for the first few months and you feel a lot of newbie gains and your body is really shaping up and completely expanding and growing and bursting out and yada yada yada, but then it just kind of starts to taper off a little bit. Still considerable gains with every month that you're going, but it's not as quick, it's not as intense, and it doesn't always present with the same level of results. Definitely not like the first couple of months you were doing it. Or when you're learning a new language and every day you're learning new grammar concepts and new vocab, and you find yourself being able to read full sentences, at least simple ones, without any real help. But then for months after every sentence you read, there is always one word that you have no idea what the frick it is. You're not very sure you understand the meaning of the sentence, or you just completely do not understand how the grammar works because there's some weird freaking slang thrown in there or something like that. The dip is society's internal mechanism to create value through scarcity. The harder it is to get, the more valued it is, even though that is not always a hard and fast rule. Your health is probably one of the, if not the most valuable thing you'll ever have, but it's not exactly a scarce thing since the vast majority of people are reasonably healthy. They can move, they are mobile and just can live their life normally. A Ferrari isn't worth anything to me really because I'm not a car guy, even though it's priced at hundreds of thousands of freaking dollars. A real life example is it's actually very difficult to get out of Egypt to do a master's or just do any kind of thing abroad. There are a lot of very obscure steps. The places where you're supposed to do them are pretty far apart, and there is no real exact guidance on how to do it step by step unless you know someone closely that has done it already. There are entire Facebook groups just for the simple purpose of finding the steps on how to get out of the place. But it's so difficult because there is usually a much better quality of life waiting on the other side. In short, if it's worth it, there is probably a dip in there somewhere. The idea here is that you're trying to find, as we said, the business that has the greatest possible dip that you know for sure that you can go through and make it out on the other side. And in my own very limited experience, that can only happen in kind of one of two ways, really. Either one, you're extremely competent at whatever base skill or service or good that your business relies on, so you have an outsized advantage over anyone that dares try to do it as well, and you can easily just win. An unfair advantage, so to speak. Number two is that you love that thing, you love whatever business you're in, you love whatever thing that you're trying to do so much that you know you're going to consciously suck at this thing for a very long time. Not a very long time, it depends on how hard you're working and how well you're learning it, but you know you're going to suck and you're willing to suck for as long as it takes and lean into it so you can make it out on the other side and get whatever that is waiting for you there. You'll be able to identify that most if you've already been through the dip on something else, and the closer that thing is to whatever thing you're trying to do now, the easier it will be to spot it. Like if someone has already learned a second language, then they can probably roughly identify what kind of dip will be on there for the third language, and so on and so on. So let's tie it back to business. It's never a good idea to invest heavily into something that you don't understand or have deep, intimate experience with. And that means any kind of resource, whether that's time, money, energy, or anything else that you may count as one, like willpower maybe. That means that for most people, you're better off starting with something that doesn't require a lot of capital, special equipment, being at some particular location, at least until you gain the confidence from being competent and good at the thing that you can afford to take a little more risk. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. You have time. Don't rush it and make stupid mistakes. I'm telling you this from experience. And usually service businesses are the things that fit that idea the most, because almost any skill that you have, even if it's very reliant on manual labor, can probably be like quantified or converted into some service equivalent. Service businesses set you up well for the future because they simply teach the most fundamental important business skills to their core. How to treat customers, how to establish long-term relationship with customers, how to improve gradually and consistently at whatever offering you provide, how to manage finances, how to do admin stuff, how to market and sell yourself, how to take on a customer first approach, that whole package deal. Plus, psychologically, it's very quick to make your first bit of money with it, and so in turn gets your first and quick, easy win, because it just reinforces it psychologically that yes, okay, this is working, this is worth it, I should do more of it. I made money in my first month of trying out freelancing 2 years ago. So in short, identify what is the biggest dip that you can go through, lean into it as much as you can. Focus on doing something that either you're already really good at or something that you really love, preferably combining both, and then just apply all of that into some service business format. And if you do that enough and in the long term, then you're probably gonna have the best possible result, at least in the service business area. You can then transform and change it on into whatever thing you identify later on to be a better opportunity vehicle, just because you have more knowledge and awareness about the entire skill. And so with that, bye.